Have you ever faced a moment where you just wished you could stop time? A deadline looming, a challenge that feels too big, a day that's slipping away too fast? We've all been there, feeling that pressure, that race against the clock. But what if I told you about a time when faith didn't just move mountains, but actually stopped the sun in its tracks? This isn't a fantasy story. It's one of the most astonishing accounts in history, a moment that defies all human understanding. It's the story of a leader, a battle, and a prayer so bold it commanded the heavens. Imagine this, a vast battlefield at the crack of dawn. The air is thick with dust and the sounds of war. Below, the armies of Israel are locked in a fierce struggle, a fight for their very survival. Their commander, Joshua, watches from a hill, his heart pounding with the rhythm of the clashing swords. He sees the courage, the exhaustion, the sheer will of his people. They are fighting with everything they have, pushing forward inch by painstaking inch. Victory feels so close, almost within their grasp. But as the day wears on, a new enemy appears: the sun itself. It begins its slow, relentless descent toward the horizon, threatening to plunge the battlefield into darkness. Nightfall would give their enemies the cover they need to escape, to regroup, to come back stronger. The momentum would be lost. The sacrifices of the day would be for nothing. You can feel the urgency in the air. The soldiers, weary and battered, glance at the fading light, their determination warring with their dwindling energy. For Joshua, this isn't just about winning a battle. It's about securing the future God had promised his people. He knows he's running out of time. In that critical moment, faced with an impossible situation, most of us might pray for strength, for a miracle, for a swift end to the fighting. But Joshua did something different. He didn't just whisper a hopeful prayer. He stepped forward, filled with a radical, unwavering faith. He lifted his hands not in surrender, but in command. Looking up at the sky, at the sun and the moon, he spoke directly to God, but in a way that all could hear. His voice wasn't just a request, it was a declaration of faith, a bold claim on God's power. He prayed, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon." And then, the universe held its breath. Heaven responded. In an instant, the impossible happened. The sun, that giant, fiery star charting its course across the sky, froze in its position. The moon, visible in the afternoon sky, stood motionless. A divine, supernatural light bathed the entire valley, erasing the advancing shadows. The wind died down. The world fell into an eerie, silent awe. Time itself seemed to bend to the will of God, suspended by the faith of one man. Can you even begin to comprehend that? Everything we know about physics, about the natural order of the cosmos, was put on hold. Under this miraculous, unmoving sun, the battle raged on. But now, everything was different. The Israelites, invigorated by this undeniable sign of God's favor, fought with renewed strength. There was no place for their enemies to hide, no darkness to offer them refuge. They were completely exposed, not just to Israel's army, but to the power of the God who controlled the heavens. Joshua watched as victory was sealed, not by the might of his army alone, but by the awe-inspiring power of God unfolding before his very eyes. The enemies fled in disarray, utterly defeated under a sky that refused to let the day end. As the last of the fighting subsides, the battlefield grows quiet. The sounds of war fade into a peaceful silence. Joshua stands alone, his gaze fixed on the sky. He's not looking up in pride, but in profound, humble awe. The light that fills the scene isn't just the light of the sun. It's the light of God's faithfulness. This story isn't just about a military victory. It is a powerful testament to what happens when our faith refuses to be limited by what we see. Sometimes, our biggest battles are fought against the clock. We see our opportunities fading, our strength waning, and we think the day is lost. But Joshua's story teaches us a profound lesson. When God is on your side, the normal rules don't apply. Even time itself must obey the command of faith. Our faith isn't meant to just watch the clock and hope for the best. It's meant to trust the God who holds all of time in his hands. So the next time you feel like you're running out of time, remember the day the sun stood still. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder of God's incredible power. See you next time.